You're listening to Optimal Pairing, a Fire Emblem podcast.
I'm Austin, and I'm a Fire Emblem veteran.
I'm Patrick, and I'm a Fire Emblem beginner.
And in this podcast, we'll discuss our playthrough of the newest Fire Emblem game,
Fire Emblem Three Houses,
for the Nintendo Switch. Oh, hey, Patrick.
Oh, hey, Austin.
Didn't see you there.
How's it going?
I'm well. How are you?
I am well also.
You still having a good time with Fire Emblem?
Absolutely. I am. And yourself?
I am. And once again, we are here with our chai tea.
That's right.
Drinking away.
Drinking away. Do you still have tea with your students in the late game?
Yes.
You still do, like, did you make that choice personally?
Oh.
I mean,
Well, since it raises, there's the chance of, if you have a perfect tea, raising the charisma stat, I go for it.
what does charisma stat get you in this game? That's one of the few stats I really do not know what the benefit of it is.
So my understanding is
Italian related or something?
yeah, it increases the strength of your gambit.
Okay.
I think it just alters the might of it. It would be cooler if, they're the gambits, if people like extra movement, if it either increased how many, squares you affect or things like that. But I think it's just straight up increases the might
Okay.
of your gambits.
Yeah, so this is our fourth episode of the podcast. And Austin, correct me if I'm wrong, you've beaten the game?
I have beaten the game.
And you are on your second playthrough at this point?
I am very early on. I've been trying to take it slow so I don't overlap.
So you don't lap me?
Yes, that's right. But
It's
I'm
okay
on,
if you lap me.
I'm on my second playthrough.
Who are you playing as this time?
The Black Eagle.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I am still on my first playthrough, still playing the Black Eagles.
Still playing the Black Eagle.
And I am on the beginning of chapter 17. Like, I just got to chapter 17. So this episode will focus on chapters 11 through 16.
Yes.
But with the caveat that you have beaten the game.
Yes. And I will be still talking about my golden deers.
Right, which was your first playthrough.
That's right. And I'm still deeply in love with them. Even though I'm now playing Black Eagles, I'm still maybe I want my Hilda back and my Lawrence back, but I'm trying to hold back on not recruiting just my whole other team back. Yeah.
So we'll probably do like we did last week. We'll just talk about some general things up top, and then we'll go through those chapters. Though this time it will be interesting in theory because maybe or at least some things are different, and how much we don't know.
Yeah, we don't know, so we'll find out. And we stopped at at the end of chapter 10 last episode.
That's right.
And when we launch into our chapter discussion, my understanding is both 11 and 12 are the chapters where some decisions happen and the stories start forking. Yeah,
Right. Follow up on last week. I finally have figured out how to do the convoy from the main menu.
Yes.
Took me. I had to look it up because I kept being
really.
I kept being like, where the fuck is the convoy? Like based on our conversation last time, and I now know how to do it. It's super not intuitive.
Not intuitive. So this is, and I think I said this last episode, the items management in Fire Emblem has always been a thorn in my side, and I really thought surely they're going to update it. No, it has stayed the same. You would think
there's a million ways to view, I don't know. We said it last time, so it doesn't bear repeating, but it does.
Yep.
There's a million ways to see everything about your characters, but you can only do certain things from certain places. and that just feels weird because it seems like you can do it at any time.
Yes.
So why can't I just do it from different menus?
In the discussion of the convoy as the cloud is also perfect for me, because when I send things to the convoy, it's like out of sight, out of mind. And then I'm like, oh, I have this super rare sword that I found that I should have been using.
Right.
And especially consumable items.
Yes.
That permanently boost your stats.
Yeah.
I'm telling you, if you hit the time skip and you haven't used them yet, and you know where your characters are headed, it's time to just...
Yeah, I've used them all, and I've bought more and used them all at this point. And
Yep.
I think I had them sitting around for a long time, like kind of like you're talking about.
Mm-hmm.
And now I'm playing on normal, so it's not as necessary. But I feel like those would be more useful on hard for sure.
Absolutely.
I just, in reading about the game, and as time is going on, the difficulty seems to be the big issue with this game. Just that you can't scale it up once you've started normal. Like,
yes. Yes. And I was thinking about this. We had that discussion where part of the difference between normal and hard is your inability to grind. I wish there were different scales that you could change. So
right. I just wish you could scale it down to normal, and if you wanted to grind.
Well, and to break it up, right, if you can change the difficulty of the enemies, and then you can change your accessibility to extra experience as well. Because, and that's kind of like in Civ 6, you pick a general difficulty, and then you can pull down a menu where it has like
this
enemies, resources, and
yes,
you can
that would totally make
those.
sense. Like turn on or off the ability to retreat, turn on or off the ability to do extra battles or whatever. Yeah, that would make a lot of sense. But we're repeating ourselves. But it's just something I keep seeing. Like the writer for Vice Games, Patrick Klepek, that gentleman that we've talked about in another context.
Yes,
he wrote an article about how he loves Fire Emblem, but it's just he started on normal and he's 30 hours in and
he's kind of bored at this point.
Like, I'm not going back now, but it's too easy.
Yes.
And that's just, it's tough to balance. I get it because like you want this to be accessible for everybody, and there needs to be an easy mode. It's just the real answer is the ability to change it on the fly. Anyway. Yeah, I probably will say it one more time before we're done, but I'll try not to.
I'm going to say playing hard, and once again, I hear some of the maps after the time skip vary depending on which route you went with, which house you went with.
Makes sense.
I found just a few of the maps towards the end of my route to be fairly easy, and then I found the last map to be quite challenging, and I kind of wish kind of the final 2 or 3 had all been kind of that caliber.
Well, there was somebody on the Switchheads Discord that said something to that effect, that they are playing on hard and they got to the last 2 chapters and they were just like, whoa, this is really hard all of a sudden.
Yes.
And I think that's another, like, the difficulty slowly scale up to being that hard, or that a huge difficulty swing is kind of a tough thing. It's kind of an annoying thing in a game. Yeah. I don't know.
I want to shout out, so I have one character, and I mentioned this last time, but I want to go into a little bit more detail because this is, I think, the more I'm playing, the clearer this is becoming to me. I made a complete shift of taking my Marianne, who I was going to make into a Holy Knight, and I made her a Falcon Knight, and that shared a few. So, like, I was still working on lances, but I had to completely ditch riding and white magic altogether, faith, and go into the flying and the swords route for her.
Well, I think we can talk about this jumping ahead a little bit to Marianne's paralogue.
Yes.
Where then all of a sudden you're like, oh, well, now I have this dope-ass sword, and she can actually do some good damage with this sword. And we'll talk about the story part of that later. Yes. But I have had the same problem because I used Marianne as a healer, but now she's got this sweet sword, and I'm really on the fence about what to do with her because of that.
Yeah. Well, and before we get into that, I made that decision and made a hard turn and had a knowledge gem right after the white herring dance competition.
Right.
And so I really think that is the point, that if you have had a revelation of you want your character to go down a different path, get a knowledge gem, hardcore go for that path for them. But I think that might be the latest, that if you want someone to really like live into a new niche, that felt like, at least if you're playing hard and you can't do the
At
XP
that
grind,
time, like somewhere in chapter 10ish or whatever.
there to the time skip, I think you're kind of playing with fate. But I think that's kind of your last opportunity to.
And that's something that where maybe multiple playthroughs come in well, of like, you know, a little bit about some of the characters if you recruit them, though theoretically you're coming across a lot of new ones you don't know about, these hidden talents or awesome swords that they're gonna get later. I was gonna say that this is totally not related to like gameplay mechanics, but the mini bylith that runs across the screen,
yes.
I now just obsessively go full vertical and make them run as fast as they can down one way, then the other way back. That's my fun. I do that.
Speaking of which, I think in the first episode, first or second episode, you mentioned you kind of griped a little bit, wishing that there's a jump button. There is a jump button during the loading screen.
Oh, and I make him jump a lot too. Yeah. Why can't you give me that jump in the monastery?
Just
too?
a good question. Also, I can't remember who it is, but one of the early reviews of this game was like, during the loading screen, you can make your character jump by pressing whatever button
it's
is.
B, I think.
And then you can make your character do a little disco motion with A. And it's like, no, your character just always does that. So I wonder if this person was just constantly mashing A.
I have read that too and been confused, because I feel like all you can do is make him move left and right and jump, and then if you don't do anything, he does the staying alive disco thing.
And so
she.
Maybe that was changed.
I don't know. And then I guess the only other thing I have on here we'll get to. I have this sort of question in case we don't get to it, and that is like, did you have any characters that had a support scene of like C or B that happened after the time skip?
Yes.
And was that awkward at all? Like, I'm wondering if they wrote different dialogue for pre and post time skip, because there were some where it felt like they did, and there were some where it felt like it
doesn't quite
like it fits anymore.
Yeah. So I actually, and let me know if you experience this, many of my paralogs by the time I hit time skip were like, you have to wait. Like, you have hit level B with this character, or B plus, because sometimes there's the multi-level.
You mean your support scenes or whatever?
Yeah. And it would say like, you have to wait for time to pass.
It seems like any A has to happen, and presumably S also has to happen after the time skip, but C and B can happen either before or after. Yep. But if they happen after, it might not feel right.
Yes. And that's, I experienced that. Once again, Lawrence is a character who has kind of a particular growth, and I got one of his Bs kind of later on, and I was like, oh, I feel like you've matured past this in a number of ways, and so it did feel regressive, and I guess that would be hard to write around.
Yeah, though I think they did do a little bit, because I had one that happened where it felt like, oh, they kind of acknowledged it, but it felt like maybe just a little tacked on thing. I'm not sure. It just makes, I'm kind of curious if you're listening and you had an experience one way or the other, let us know, because I was kind of curious about that. So anything else up top or big picture you want to talk about?
Since we were talking support,
yes,
I saw that there are some character supports that get a few extra lines of dialogue if you have a third member on your team that's not in the support, that maybe isn't normally on that team, and maybe a combination of characters that maybe even from all different houses, I don't know, but that there are special dialogues that you can get in certain supports if you have certain character combinations that aren't just your normal house rosters.
I didn't realize that.
Yeah, so I thought that was interesting. I decided like, oh, those sound like fun Easter eggs I want to hopefully discover on myself and maybe look up later, but didn't want to spoil them for me now.
Okay, that's
So,
cool. I didn't
yeah.
know that.
Yeah. Something to keep your eyes open for.
All right, so chapter 11 then?
Let's dig in.
All right. So chapter 11. So this is where I had some tough choices to make
Yes.
as a Black Eagles route.
Okay. Right up at the beginning of the chapter, or?
So I wish I had better notes about this.
Okay.
But
Tell me about it.
all I wrote was 2 tough decisions, and I think that means there's this part of the game where if you're in the Black Eagles route, Edelgard will, and this is the chapter, she'll ask you if you'll come to her coronation ceremony or something. I don't even know if that's the words they use. She just says, "Hey, will you come do something with me?"
Oh.
And then the screen darkens and it goes bum 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 like a heartbeat. And it's like, this decision will affect the outcome of the game or of the story. And so I'm like, well, fuck, all she did was ask me to go somewhere. It's not like she's asking me to kill Rhea or something, like, so I went with her.
Did you think there were going to be like major, what did you?
I actually Googled it.
Okay.
Because
okay.
I was terrified of
like, what does this
locking
mean?
myself into something. And so I looked it up and it's like, well, if you go with her, you still have a chance to go either way.
Okay.
It's like, well, then why did it even...
It's odd, isn't it?
Why did it even present me with it that way if it's not going to affect the outcome of the game?
Yeah. I think it's to lock the later decision a little earlier, but it seems like it's only separated by a few weeks. So
it wasn't very far off
Mhm.
that I then got that message again, and then it really mattered. So something that struck me, this is totally changing. So then later I had to make the actual decision of, do I save Edelgard or do I kill Edelgard later in this chapter?
So I am excited to hear if you choose to kill her, if she actually gets killed in that scene, because that seems very premature.
To kill her, and she does not get killed.
Okay.
So, and I'm pretty sure it's just but
it really drives home the your
the,
character in that moment is thinking, I either protect her or I turn against her, right?
Right.
Yeah.
It's kind of from the perspective, and I'll hit there, and maybe you can tell me what happened on your end. But so, you have this is this chapter where you're going to do the ritual down at this hidden basement that nobody knows about.
That's right.
So somehow the church has this gigantic basement nobody's aware of.
The tomb, the holy tomb. Yeah.
The holy tomb. And you're going to sit on the throne, I guess, and get a revelation from the goddess. Anyway.
I think it's hilarious. So this makes me a little sad. Rhea's like, oh, you're going to hear the voice of the goddess, and you're going to sit on her throne. And it's like, that bitch is gone, Rhea. Sorry. I mean, if you had told me that this was your master plan, 2 or 3 months ago, I could have told you.
I already have talked to the goddess quite a bit. And she's kind of annoying.
Right.
No, I'm just kidding.
But I could have been your metal can telephone situation.
So that then it gets invaded by the Flame Emperor, who's bringing thieves to steal all of the sacred relic stones,
all the crest stones. Yeah.
And the reveal, of course, happens. The big reveal, the Flame Emperor is Edelgard.
Bum, bum, bum.
Did that surprise you when that happened?
It surprised me. It did not happen for me until the end of this chapter. So
you're fighting the Flame Emperor, not Edelgard?
Yes. So Flame Emperor shows up, is interrupting the ceremony, has all these soldiers with them. I think most people are presuming a him because of the deeper voice. And then it's once we get there and I deliver the final blow, does it then cut to a scene that reveals the true identity of the Flame Emperor.
Gotcha. So I don't remember the exact attitude or exactly how it happens, but you're having this thing and all of a sudden the Flame Emperor shows up and immediately it's revealed to be Edelgard. At least that's my recollection.
Yeah.
And then so you're fighting her and you quote unquote kill her in the battle. You don't really kill her. And you know what I mean? Just like how sometimes it's killing people and sometimes it's like, no,
they run
see
away
you another day.
Yes.
It was one of those moments.
I will get you. Yes.
And that's when you're presented with the choice because Rhea flips the fuck out.
Yeah, she does.
Yeah. So big props to Rhea's voice actor, by the way. I thought she did a phenomenal job at because this whole time you just she's Rhea and she's got that edge to her of a little bit of we'll crush our enemies.
Yes.
But like this time for the first time she's like, you fucking, how could you do this? And I will destroy you and I kill her.
She
And
can
that's what
turn on a
happens.
dime. Yeah.
And that's what happens. She orders you to kill Edelgard
Yes.
after you've beaten her in the battle. And that's when you have the decision to be like,
Wow.
do I protect her or do I kill her?
Yes. Okay.
And I had to quit because I could not figure it out. I could not make the choice. It's super.
That's adorable,
it's
I have to say.
stressful.
Yeah.
Well, it's like this whole time I've really grown to like
Uh-huh.
Edelgard.
Uh-huh.
And I'm kind of on her side. But I also have grown to like Rhea and the whole environment I've been in. And I'm kind of on her side too. So it's like, isn't there a third option that we could just talk through this?
That seems right. That seems right up your alley. Yeah, that I not having this choice, I think it's great that one of these, and I think it even intensifies the choice that only one of the three houses has to make it. It makes it feel a little bit more grandiose as well, right?
Yeah,
Mhm.
I think it's really interesting that they did it this way. That and they kind of, I feel like they kind of encouraged people to play Black Eagles, whether consciously or whether like,
Yeah.
you know what I mean. And I think I get now why.
In the marketing build-up, a lot of fans were noticing that the Black Eagles were getting a little bit more attention, and Edelgard was getting a little bit more attention.
Right.
And it does make sense. I think if you chose any of the three houses, you're going to enjoy the story and have more to learn by playing the others. But I get why they would maybe want you to play this story first. Yep.
But man, if choosing to save Edelgard isn't quote unquote the main story, I'm confused because like I knew a little bit that if I chose to do that it would be a slightly shorter run,
Okay.
and that she's technically kind of the villain. You know what I mean? For all the other playthroughs.
Yeah.
So it's like, that's why it's a tough decision. Because it's like, well, I kind of have grown to like her.
Sure.
I'm kind of on her side that all these nobility and crest
Yeah.
things are kind of fucked up.
I'm a little surprised that you went the other direction because our first episode after playing the game, you were like, Edelgard's intense, but I'm there with her.
Well, I feel that
Yeah.
way, but I think there's also the whole deception of the Flame Emperor shit.
Uh-huh.
And like, well, you worked with all these shady people. There's in that element of it too, right? Like, well, this isn't the way to do it.
Yeah.
Even if you're the Emperor.
So
And maybe even because you're the Emperor, this isn't the way to do it, like,
she's been watching too many Star Wars movies. So something that I really enjoy about this is that like she and Rhea are actually super similar, and she carries the crest of Saros, and which is Rhea's signa that she has everywhere. And so I think the two of them are really more alike than either of them would admit, and that's part of their conflict.
Right. Yeah. So I chose to quote unquote kill her, but that didn't work. She just left.
Okay,
Or,
so
you
she
know what I
just
mean?
kind of poofed and
I don't even remember, but it's like,
okay.
I make that choice and then she's gone. And-
What was Rhea's response to your decision?
Oh, well, I don't think there was like a response to it because it wasn't like a decision. It was an order. She's like, kill her.
Yes.
And you go, I was like, it's like an internal thought process is, I will kill her. You know what I mean? And then
She's like, you followed orders. Good.
and then we get, that's like not the time skip, right? Like then we have one more chapter.
One more chapter. So I have mild spoilies from if you were going Black Eagles and you made the other choice.
Yeah.
My partner is playing that, and so I have just got a little bit of this. There chapter 11 then led into the time skip for him.
Well, that makes sense.
I think that's right.
That probably, I mean, it has to because
I think that's right.
what else would you do for that month? They're not going to let you stay at the
Yeah.
monastery.
If you're listening and I'm wrong, let us know. But I think that's right.
So, anything else from the Golden Deer run, like on chapter 11, like that you want to specifically say?
So, once again, I know that my Flame Emperor reveal.
Oh yeah, let's talk about that a
happened-
little bit more
Uh-huh.
before we move on. Say what you guys say. and then-
Oh yeah, it just happened at the end of the chapter as opposed to at the beginning of the chapter. And so that was kind of played up as this big moment. Rhea is just super pissed and emotional and like understandably so. And then we kind of get this, we get the narrator voice who tells us about Edelgard has been amassing these nobles, and she tells us she'll be back in 2 weeks with a stronger force ready
Right.
to storm Garrigmach, the monastery, and
Right.
and take us over.
That similarly happens if you go against her.
Yep.
One of the things I want to say is that I had it vaguely spoiled for me that she was the Flame Emperor.
Yeah.
So I accidentally watched a video where they showed off Edelgard's classes, and one of them was Flame Emperor. And this happened right before all this, so it wasn't too big of a thing. And I wasn't 100% sure because it wasn't like Edelgard is the Flame Emperor. It was just like I was kind of watching this thing casually while I was at work, and I was like, "Is she? Wait." And then it all clicked because there are a lot of hints that she's the Flame Emperor.
Yes, there are.
In the Black Eagles run, and in particular, the most there's several, but one of the ones that I remember that really jumped into my mind as soon as I saw that thing, which made me realize, oh, it's probably true.
Yes.
Was I can't remember what chapter it is, but there's some chapter where you're out, and I think it's the one where you're like fighting in that Remire village where there's the curse or whatever.
Oh, uh-huh.
And then at the end of it, Hubert comes up and he goes, "Hey, where's Edelgard?" And then the Flame Emperor appears.
But okay,
And as soon as I had a hint that it might be her, I was like, it's fucking her because of that moment. And there was
Yep.
another one or two things. There's just so many pieces that
Yeah.
fell into place. Her and Monica talking so much.
Uh-huh.
A couple other things that she said in a support scene here or there. You know what I mean?
Yes.
The fact that the Flame Emperor offers to have you join her. Now we
Yes,
know.
yes.
There were several things that all lined up as soon as I had a hint that might be the case. And I was like,
Uh-huh.
oh, yep.
You're like, there it is.
She's the Flame Emperor. That's kind of disappointing because I had more faith in you, Edelgard. Why don't
Yeah.
you just be yourself? I think that's why I didn't choose her, though I'm going to in another run.
You
I actually
felt
I
deceived.
still have my saved game right there. I
Right
think
there
I
at
might
the point.
just play from that the other way
Yeah.
around.
Why not?
It'll still
Unless
be
you
on.
wanna
It'll
take
still be on
someone to-
normal, but you know what I mean.
Oh,
But I
yeah.
might still do it just for that route because it's like
Yeah.
if they feel so related. I don't know. You know what I mean? Like
Sure.
it feels like. Anyway,
No, that makes a lot of sense. I was surprised. I had been able to avoid that spoiler until it happened in the game, and there was a moment where I thought it, and then I was like, well, I don't. And this is part of what I think is genius. Is I was like, to have one of the lords who you choose
right.
be
The bad guy,
The bad
essentially.
guy. I was like, that I don't see that, and then it was like, no, they're committing to this, and so I thought that was really bold and exciting. Yeah.
So we get into chapter 12 then. Or actually, you know what? Say one other sort of general
yeah.
comment.
Mm-hmm.
I wish that the monastery changed with the seasons. Why isn't there?
Yeah, I've seen. Yeah.
Why isn't there snowfall or autumn leaves? Because I think at this point it's been 10 months,
Yeah.
and this is about when I realized why the fuck hasn't the monastery changed to have a little bit of snow on the ground or the roofs?
Fodlan is
roofs.
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 I don't know.
How do you pluralize roof? If you're listening and you know how to pluralize roofs, let us know.
I'm from Tennessee, so I'm the wrong person to ask. That's because Fodlan is Texas. No, just one season.
But in
I'm
those
just-
those little like
You're right.
I don't know what you call them, the little
Verdant
chapter
moon.
yes the
Yeah.
chapter intros.
Mm-hmm.
Which, by the way, is that the same voice actor as as your father? Why can't I think of his name? Is Geralt?
Oh, I am not sure.
I'm gonna
We
look
should
it up
Google
because
that. Yeah.
the more once Geralt died, I don't know why I
Mm.
keep wanting to call him Geralt. Once he died, I was like, I'm hearing his voice again. Oh wait, did he do both parts? And if so, he does a great job
Yeah.
on the chapter stuff because he
Yeah.
reads everything like an audiobook.
Yeah.
But he read that too when he was doing his lines as Geralt. So I think that was the problem I had.
Salty salt. That's great. Maybe you're just looking for a father figure now after Gerald's dead.
I'm gonna try to look this up, but the internet is going slow.
Yeah. So, chapter 12. While you're looking it up, I'll talk about the fact that all of the monastery dialogue is just everyone saying how shocked they are. Right.
Yeah.
I don't remember getting a lot more from that. Dimitri especially, this was one of the few times I kind of avoided the other lords when adventuring in the monastery. So I decided to talk to him this time, and he is pissed.
I'm sorry. You're gonna have to repeat that because I just verified that it is.
It is him. Cool.
Yes, he's the narrator as well. I'm sorry. So can you say that last part again one more time?
You're good. I was just saying, normally I avoided speaking to Edelgard and Dimitri because they were the leaders of the other houses.
Wait, you wouldn't talk to them?
No.
What? You just left them sitting there with their bubble? Their voice bubble?
Yeah.
Oh, Austin. I can't leave a character with a voice bubble.
I wasn't gonna pop that bubble, so I wanted to pop that bubble later when I was committed
but I think
to
they say
their
different things to you.
Well, and so I decided to break my rule this time and talk to Dimitri, and he was pissed about the Edelgard shenanigans.
Oh, I always talk to Claude and Dimitri.
Do you?
Yeah.
I'm like,
or not anymore because they're not around, but...
See, here's the thing. I'm like, I can't recruit you. Bye. Like...
That's funny.
You're not my friend.
Because they have little interesting things to say, I felt like.
Okay.
I don't know, as much as interesting
I'll
things
go.
as anybody says.
Maybe I'll rectify
I'm sure it'll be
this
different.
next playthrough.
Yeah.
Yeah.
To go talk to Claude and
I
he'll
bet
say
that's right.
things he's never said to you before.
He said everything to me before. You don't know my relationship.
So I think this was the beginning of chapter 12 where you have this sort of cutscene with Rhea and Seteth. And they kept talking about like the progenitor god.
The progenitor
And I'm
god.
like, what the fuck is this? Why are we changing our language all of a sudden?
And is that the same as the goddess?
I'm
unclear.
like, it's unclear, but I'm 99% sure it is goddess. And they also say our friend, and I don't know. It was like, I'm like, who is her? They're like saying her and progenitor god,
Yep.
and I'm like, why aren't they just saying goddess like they have every other time?
And they've
was this
already-
a weird translation thing, or was this like, how
So-
did somebody not catch this?
I think that it is an intentional choice to see these questions of what's going on there. Because the specific phrasing in my playthrough of progenitor god, the word progenitor god ends up having some significance.
Okay. Well, so they use that progenitor god, and they go, I ask that you help our friend, and in doing so, help her. And I'm like, who is her? Is that the progenitor god?
Yeah.
Who is the progenitor god? Is that the goddess? And then I came to the conclusion that I think it is, but it was just a really weird, like...
Yes. Not...
They have not used it. If they, I don't know. I feel like if they had used it interchangeably previously, it would have made a lot more sense.
Yes. And I think that's the sense we're starting to get the more intimate language of Rhea and Seteth and their kind of their secret beliefs that are maybe separate from the church, church's understanding of its own theology and tenets.
And then I have some notes in chapter 12 about some support scenes that happened.
Oh, tell me about them.
So, Linhart support scenes with Marianne are really great. Because Marianne is obsessed that her crest is a problem, right?
Yeah.
And we
Super
I have
down on
I have
herself
had the
because of it.
paralogue, and I know why now.
Yes.
But like at that time I didn't. or is just she thinks she's bad luck, and he's like, it's not possible, I will, and he like forces her to like do things, like she's like, no, don't eat this fruit that I've touched because you'll have bad luck. He's like, I'm eating it and I'll show you you're not bad luck. You know what I mean? He's like, it's really sweet. There's multiple. He's like, I want to study your crest and prove to you that you are fine.
Oh, and who is this again?
Linhardt.
Okay. What a sweetheart.
Yeah.
That Linhardt.
I like Linhardt a lot, actually.
Yeah.
And Linhardt also has really great support scenes with Flane.
She's great.
That I know you love Flane.
Yes.
I don't know, but his support scenes with Flane are really great because they are directly about the thing you talked about last time.
Yeah.
Where whether or not she is some sort of, and I still don't know in my playthrough, and maybe you've beaten the game, maybe there's something that comes out about whether or not she's the saint. Which one? One of the saints.
Yeah, I forget their names.
And he's like, all of his support scenes with her are like, I want to ask you some questions about your relationship to Saint Cethaline or whatever it is. And she's like, whatever are you talking about? And he's like, well, you bear the same crest as her. And in fact,
he has it too, right?
And yes, he does. Yes. And he's like, and I have it too. And you look a lot like her. And I'm not saying that there's something there, but I think there's something there. And she just plays really dumb and tries to get away from him.
Yeah.
And he's like, I'm gonna keep talking to you about this and figure this out.
Yeah.
And each time it's progressively more a little bit like, I'm pretty sure there's something going on here. And
that's great.
So it really puts that front and center. Yeah, he's like, I was reading about the saint, and I noticed that there's some striking similarities between her story and yours. and she just dodges it and is nervous and leaves.
So I'm gonna say this here.
Spoiler alert, maybe.
Well, so I have made a number of predictions on this podcast prior, and I'm not all of them, but many of them.
Had some fruit.
Had some fruit. Yeah, and I'm a proud mom of some fruit.
Oh my gosh. So those are all my notes up until the battle that happened at the end of the month.
Oh, and this is also, I wonder if this happened for you too. Rhea makes a very clear statement that if anything is to happen to her, that we would take over the church, which is like, oh, so something's gonna happen to you.
Oh, right, yeah.
And we're gonna have to take over the church.
Yeah, that happened for me as well.
Yep.
And then that battle was a little bit tough.
Yep.
I don't know how it was for you. I had to rethink it kind of halfway through because that battle had like one strong enemy in like 4 places.
Yeah.
And then like sort of that clump around Edelgard up at the top of the map.
Yes.
And I think I had just like, I had to kind of like really pace myself in that battle because I couldn't just, like you can in some of the normal battles, just fling people into it. And most of the time it works out unless you get that 1% crit or whatever that can happen.
Yes.
But that was one where I was like, okay, no, I
gotta pace myself.
I gotta really like keep my team together, or just not activate enemies, and that. So that was a little bit of a tougher battle in some ways.
Yeah,
but manageable. And the thing about normal is, it's like, well, I still didn't use any. I think maybe I had to use one
divine pulse.
Mm-hmm. But I just had to like slow my roll a little bit.
So this one was one where I had to use my divine pulse a little bit. And if I remember correctly, I had a lot of beasts on the left flank, and then a lot of just normal units. I had like 2 or 3 beasts on the left, and then like just oodles of normal units on the right. So figuring out the right balance of how many of my units to send where was a little trickier. And I had 3 flying units at this point, 2 Wyvern Riders and 1 Pegasus Knight. And so there are tons of ballistas. And so using the mounting and then dismounting feature.
I have never dismounted.
Oh, yeah. I use the fuck out of it.
I haven't needed to. What's the benefit of dismounting, I guess is?
So if you're on a flying unit, it takes away your disadvantaged from arrows.
Okay.
And I think even if you're on I don't know. It's
you can remount.
and then you can remount. And if you're on a horse or a hee and you dismount, then you can traverse steps without taking particular movement penalties.
Okay.
Yeah. Yes. And so what's great about it is you can fly somewhere, use your flying movement. If you're strategic, you then dismount somewhere where it's not that big of a deal, do your action, and then you move footed the next time, but then you can just remount at the end of now your second turn.
I see. Yeah. Okay.
And so it's super flexible. And that's new. That's not something many flying units were just stuck flying.
Okay.
I think they've had dismounting in a previous game, but they took it away because it felt overpowered.
Oh, okay.
I would argue it is really strong.
Oh,
yeah.
Okay. I didn't see any point in it, but now I do that you have described that.
Yeah.
Yeah. And again, probably a more hard issue than normal.
That's right.
It's like, why would I give up my mobility?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So then the time, or is there anything else about the battle you want to talk about?
No.
So the time skip. This was the time skip, right?
This was the time skip. That's right.
So we see this cutscene of Rhea turning into a dragon.
Yeah.
That came out of nowhere.
Came out of nowhere and was great. And so this is
And she orders you to go away, but you come back or something.
Yeah.
Isn't that what happens to you?
she's like, "Hey, you stay safe. I'm going to take care of this." And then she turns into a dragon. Beautiful goddess dragon. And then like shooting flames, killing bitches, and then these hooved beasts come up and start attacking her, and so you go and save her from these smaller beasts that are overwhelming her. And then Thales,
Oh, yeah, that
Thales,
something like that.
he shows up and then knocks you off into a ravine with some magic.
Okay.
But so this is the moment we've all been waiting for. Of if you're a Fire Emblem fan, you know there's some secret dragons lying
right.
about. It's usually the folks with green hair. And Sothis was kind of the bait and switch of...
Oh, okay. She's probably a dragon.
Yeah, of like everyone was waiting for her, like, oh, when are we going to see Sothis A, become a playable unit, and then B, transform into a dragon. And so I think they kind of bait and switched us on who our dragons are. Mm-hmm.
Gotcha. So then you wake up, or you're found in a river, and you've been asleep for 5 years?
I thought this was one of the weaker story beats.
I think it's the weakest,
Yeah.
or arguably.
Yeah.
Definitely one of the weaker, and maybe the weakest. I was like, I can buy a 5-year coma. Why not just have it be you wake up in somebody's house and they're like, holy shit, he's awake.
Yeah.
We dragged you out of the river 5 years ago and kept you alive.
Yep.
Instead, it's like,
You've been drifting down that river for 5
we
years.
just pulled you out of the river, and wait, you've been sleeping for 5 years? Oh, you were at Garrick Mock. It's right there. Like, what? How could I drift down a river for 5 years and be right where I started?
Goofy. Yeah. And then at some point, someone's like, oh, well, it's just because Sothis. And so it's like, did she freeze
But why didn't she
you?
just wake me up at the day after then? Like, I don't...
Yeah. Doesn't make sense.
It felt like they want a 5-year time skip.
Yeah.
And they were like, at the very last minute, they're like, oh, wait, hey, we got to write something for when he wakes up after the fight. I don't know, just say he was found in a river.
Wash up on a river. That's fine. That's fine.
But I feel like I could have taken, there would have been a similar tact that, like a similar 5 years knocked out that would have made a lot more sense.
Uh-huh.
I don't know.
Yep.
That was really disappointing.
I think they're just hoping you're not going to ask.
Well, how could I not with such terrible explanation?
Yeah, I thought that was pretty awful. I mean, or like just one of the weaker moments.
So this is where I'm curious about how
Yes.
different things are.
Okay.
Who's going first? What happens next?
So The fellow who woke me up
Yeah.
points me in the direction of the ruins of Garreg Mach.
Yeah. Quote unquote ruins. It looks exactly the same, except for a big pile of rocks in the cathedral.
Just got
And
some
even
extra
then,
rocks.
it's like, yeah, where did those rocks come from? Because I don't really see any other damage.
If you look up, like the roof has been caved in a little bit, but that's about it.
I looked down at the floor and there's some cracks, but I'm
Yeah.
not sure those cracks weren't there. I don't know. It's really disappointing how they could have had the monastery changed with the seasons, which I don't think would have taken that much effort,
Yes.
and then had the monastery actually look in some severe shambles, which
So-
I again think you could have just put piles of rocks everywhere, and
Yep.
maybe that would have worked better.
So I agree. This is also so he points me in that direction. I go there. The moon tower still remains, and so I climb the moon tower, and that's where I am once again wooed by Claude.
What?
Yes. Is this? I'm
That's
glad this is
very
a shock
different,
to you.
yes.
So then he's like, "Hey, the rest of the monastery is being looted by bandits. I'm glad you remembered your promise to meet me back in 5 years." Wink.
Ah.
It looks
So
like.
what would have happened if you hadn't met? Well, okay, no.
So that's
gotta-
a great question.
We got to back up a second. This meet me in 5 years thing.
Mm-hmm.
What's the context for that?
So my class made a pact.
Oh, okay.
That we loved each other so
Yeah.
much that 5 years, no matter what, after the dance, we met and said in 5 years we will all meet back up
Okay.
and be buds again.
This is the same then.
Okay.
And the same thing happened, actually,
well,
with Edelgard.
in the moon tower.
Yeah, I didn't put together the moon tower part
Oh.
because it just shows me, male Byleth, who I picked somewhere, and then Edelgard is there, and it's like, you came. And it's like, what are you doing here? What are you doing here? They cross swords for a minute, and they're like, we're not going to fight now, but we will fight later, kind of a moment like, it was really weird because it's like, why did she come and not kill everybody? Because she's fucking Edelgard and she doesn't give a shit about anything.
So she was there to send a message.
I guess so. I don't know what she was. I guess she keeps. Maybe we can say this about Edelgard. She might want to tear down the fabric of society, but
Yeah.
she keeps her promise to show up 5 years later in without using that as a way to kill everybody. It was a little weird.
She was there to show off her new dude.
Yeah, and to show off her weird goat horn thing.
Yeah, they're great. But how does she put that in every morning? Hubert's helping her.
Yeah, I'm sure he is. So now that you've said that, I'm like, oh, that did happen. It was a weird moment with that.
Okay.
But it wasn't quite the same because it wasn't like a positive. You know what I mean?
Yeah, there was some
interaction.
conflict there. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
So after we kind of swoon over each other a little bit,
There's no swooning over on this side. Just threats.
that's, I mean, everyone has their flavor. So there are bandits in the rest of the monastery. So then this is what's interesting to me. It cuts to a map, and it starts me off on a chapter right here, right now, just me and Claude, on a map we've never seen before that is supposed to be the monastery, and it is demolished. And so, like, I saw a demolished monastery as a map, but once again, not really. And so it's being looted by bandits, and there's bandits everywhere. And it's this really interesting map, tons of trees and walls. And
all those breakable walls. I had this too.
Oh, okay.
I thought that this was in the town, though.
Oh, maybe it was.
So it's a little confusing. So on my side of things, Seteth is the sort of liaison, if you will. He's like, you came back. Where have you been for 5 years? You know, like, oh, we've all been gone and we're all kind of coming back now. And, there are some bandits that are harassing the town and we're really trying to rebuild
Oh, okay. Yeah.
this
this
whole
is the same. You're right.
environment. And so let's take care of these bandits.
Yes.
And it is a really weird map. And I start with just Byleth and Seteth.
Cool.
And this is maybe like the second time I've ever used Seteth because I did a paralogue where he was involved.
Yeah.
And
He's
then-
super weak.
No, he was okay.
Huh. They leveled him up for you?
Yeah, I think he came in at the right level, though it was also like, is there going to be somebody else soon? Because Sedith and Violet aren't really cutting it here. And I'm sure this happened for you. All my class starts showing up, and I am thrilled.
A turn at a time, right? Like two per turn.
2 or 3 at a time. I'm super thrilled to see Dorothea and Petra. They're powerful people to help me out. Glad to see Linhardt, who can help heal. Not so happy to see Caspar, Bernadetta, and Ferdinand come in because they are seriously underleveled, and I've not been using them, and I don't get anybody else. All the people that I have been using, which is Mercedes, Manuela, Shamir, Marianne, they're not helping me. So like Bernadetta, Caspar, and Ferdinand all show up together.
Oh no! And you're like,
and they're in one corner of the map,
link.
and I'm like, well, they can't do shit over there. And I'm like trying to slowly kind of move them. Actually, that's not true. I think it was Caspar showed up with maybe Dorothea or something, and then but Bernadette and Ferdinand showed up with Linhardt, who can't really do damage either because I've mostly made him
a healer.
He can do some, but like, so I was like, I don't know how to. They just kind of hung out over there.
Y'all are just gonna hang tight. We will come rescue you.
Yeah, exactly.
Yes.
Like, Petra, just lead the way.
So I saw some of Daniel's playthrough Petra, and now that I'm playing Black Eagles as well, she's a monster.
Yeah. So what's great about Petra is she counterattacks regularly. She crits all the time. She gets 2 hits in, and she dodges like crazy. And
good for her.
So she can make mistakes, and if it's not a good, like, heavy armor people are hard because swords don't seem to do much on like those really, I don't even know, you know what I mean, those heavy armor
the
units.
knights, the fortress knights,
so those can be tricky, but like most other units are fine.
Sure.
And even I accidentally, I think she just picked up a training bow at some point, and I didn't realize it, and so and it might have even been this fight, but I think it was maybe another chapter later. I moved her somewhere, and it was like, attack. I was like, huh? Yeah, sure. If you can attack from 2 away, let's do it. And she just like crits with a bow, and I'm like, oh, she's great. She can now she can also keep that training bow and slaughter
Train
people
away
from a little bit further too.
Train away, girl. That's great. She what was I gonna say? I don't know. I was just so lost in your excitement for Petra.
I'm excited about Petra.
That's great.
So that battle was kind of tough because it didn't bring the characters that I had been using a lot.
So,
I mean, other than Petra, Dorothea, and Byleth.
So I also felt there were certain pairings that like were struggled for a little while, and I had to send my Claude and my Byleth to save them a little bit.
Right.
But this is what I liked so much about this moment in the game, is that it really sells that the units that you're building or using are these characters, because you can really imagine like, oh, these 2 characters showed up together and they're trapped in this corner, but they're not really fighters, and so what are they gonna do? That it helps the battle play into the narrative a little bit of these characters.
And I'm forgetting maybe the most crucial part here.
Oh, let's hear it.
Edelgard and Hubert are gone.
Yeah. Oh, so, were they big units for you?
Yes.
Like, yeah.
Yes. So like all, like I don't have these people. I don't have my tank Edelgard.
Yeah.
I don't have Hubert, who could attack from distances.
Yeah.
I don't have Shamir, who was a huge person I used. And I'm like, and now I have, people that could just get slaughtered if I try to even put them, to do anything other than a gambit.
Did you lose anyone?
No, I mean, yes, I had to Divine Pulse a few
Yeah.
times. I didn't lose anybody permanently, but I definitely had to Divine Pulse Caspar, I think, and maybe Bernadetta as well.
Okay.
But it's also made me come around to now I use Ferdinand all the time. Because I always liked Ferdinand, okay, and I still use Caspar and Bernadetta a little bit if it makes, like, I've kind of let Catherine replace Caspar.
Oh, okay.
And I've kind of got, now that I have Shamir back, I've kind of stopped using Bernadetta. But like, I used them a little bit more than I think I would have, because for the first for this mission and like for the next one or two, because I was like, maybe I'll give these guys a chance now.
And then you're like, nah.
They're all right. They're just not as good as those other ones. So
Yep.
I'm also this jumps ahead a little bit to the end of this, but I don't have Manuela back. She's just gone.
Oh.
There's been no mention of her or Hanneman.
And they're not around the
They're not at the monastery.
monastery?
Nobody's talked about them.
They've run off together.
I'm like, where is Manuela? I was using her.
Wait, they were in your party before? Like you had recruited them
I had
actively.
recruited Manuela, not Hanneman, but they're not at the monastery either way. So
That's wild.
I don't know if they'll show up later.
I don't
Also,
know.
Eloise is not there.
Oh.
So I just don't have those people as options, and they're not around.
That
And
is
I don't know if that will play into the story
surprising
or
to
not.
me. I don't know.
And I don't know if I screwed that up, but I don't feel like I did because there's nothing I could have done. I recruited Manuela, so I figured maybe she would show up, but she hasn't.
Yeah. I feel like so Gilbert is the only staff member I did not recruit, and I never saw him after the time skip, and so I always
I've seen Gilbert.
So I was curious of like, since I didn't recruit Gilbert, did he just like die during the? I don't know. No one has mentioned him. I have no idea.
He is in my chapter 16 story.
Oh, well, I'm excited to hear what happens to Gilbert.
Yeah, let's move on. That was a lot about that battle. I think is there anything else? Yeah.
Well, this is a great point to talk about our characters' post-time skip looks, because this is how that's revealed too.
Right.
Yeah.
So they all show up with their new hairdos.
Yeah. What'd you think?
I'm all right with some of them. And in fact, I really like Dorothea because she finally got rid of that stupid hat. And I really like Linhart.
Mm-hmm.
Linhart is the only gay man choice in the game. And I felt really sorry for most gay men because Linhart's pre-time skip haircut is atrocious. But his post-time haircut, I even am into him, and I'm a straight man. He's got a really sexy man bun.
Yeah.
And he just looks so much more like himself. And I'm like,
his outfit
Linhart is great.
Is good too. He's a looker after. So I'm gonna go ahead and say this now as well. So him and Leonie are two characters that I think are missed opportunities of there are classes that are gender locked. I feel like the two of them should have been the two characters that are able to kind of flex that.
Yeah.
Because he is dressed as this aristocrat, but he's given me like gender queer realness with his outfit. And then the same with Leonie of her thing is like, I'm just as strong as any other man at hunting and fishing.
Masculine.
And just very sure of herself in that way. And I feel like the two of them could have been this interesting, like, breaking of the gender class locks.
So I was real nervous about Petra's haircut because, I like me my Petra.
Yeah.
And if she came back with a bad haircut, well, that would probably be it.
You can crit and dodge all day, girl, but if you got a bad haircut,
she's not going to get
you're going to warm that bench. Yeah.
And I'm happy to report that her pre and post time skip haircuts are equally appealing to me.
Great.
Like I don't have a strong preference for one or the other. In fact, I like them both. So it's a nice little, hey, you mixed up your hair. Cool. I like it.
Is it just braided in a different way?
That's it's funny. It's not really braided. She's got kind of a ponytail look going on but like not like a ponytail, but like a I don't even. If I was a person who knew more about haircuts, I could give you a better. But like
the two of us are probably not the.
Just like I don't know how to describe it.
Cool.
She's got some sort of like not a ponytail, but like a part of her hair in a band or whatever, and then it all kind of flows down. So it's not wild. Ferdinand's hair, okay. He's grown it out. It's fine. Caspar's hair is improved. Who else? I already talked about Dorothea. So we have to talk about Bernadetta's haircut because that was I didn't love her haircut before, but it was fine. She just had sort of a short moppy haircut.
Yeah.
But her post-time skip haircut is terrible. And I feel like nobody agrees with me. And like, are we looking at the same image here?
So I'm shocked that you said that because I really think she is one of the strongest glow ups. And especially in terms of hair. I'm gonna have to look up at pictures. I'm like, am I remembering this wrong?
We had a nice discussion about this on the Switchheads Facebook group where you and I were both in, you know, somebody was like, hey, let's talk about the post time skip haircuts, and a lot of people are chiming in about who they like and don't like. And nobody agrees with me here, but she has this awful bang haircut where she's got a big bang in the middle and then like no bangs here and then these rat tails hanging down in the back. And if you think Linhart's previous pre-time skip haircut is bad, I don't see how you can think Bernadetta's post-time skip haircut is good, because it's basically the same weird bowl bang rat tail thing going on.
I don't see the rat tails, but I do see how that could maybe kill it for me.
You're looking at a bad picture. We need to find a zoomed in one.
Okay.
Just like, yes, so... Anyway, Austin's looking at analyzing the photo now. I just don't like it. I think it's weird.
I still like it. I don't know.
Well, somebody out there listening, if you agree, please give me some support. 'Cause nobody else will. And then Flane still looks the same.
Suspicious.
Yeah. So I was wondering if the 5-year reunion was the same in all paths.
Yes.
Yeah.
Hilda. So I was a little disappointed by a lot of the Golden Tears.
Oh yeah, tell me about their haircuts, because I haven't really seen them either.
So
I have seen a couple because I've fought a few of them.
So Hilda goes from like 2 hardcore to the side ponytails,
right,
to 2 combed back ponytails. Her cheeks got rounder somehow.
Her cheeks filled in.
Yeah, that's right. Raphael's hair just gets longer and a little moppy.
Okay. What about Ignatz?
So Ignatz, who I was romancing, turned into Big Knots, if you know what I mean. No, his haircut just
like bad hair, like big. What does that mean? No, tell me.
That was supposed to be like a nuts joke, but that's fine. yeah.
Like he's more manly.
Yeah, and really, he keeps the suave nerd thing going on, but it gets cleaned up and adult, and it gets weird. Gets rid of the weird haircut for a kind of like a bowl cut, but still handsome.
There's too many bowl cuts in this game. So Mercedes, who I recruited, now has a terrible bowl cut as well and a bad hat. Other people, I know you like it because we talked about this on that Facebook chat.
I just like the nun energy she's given off. I'm here for
I like the nun energy. I don't like the haircut and the hat.
But I feel like the hat is essential to I'm a goofy nun.
And Marianne is also somebody I recruited.
Marianne.
Her hair also disappointed me.
Okay. So, and that's... Marianne is just almost the same haircut,
but bad.
I was gonna say she had initially some stray hairs, and it's just she got rid of the stray hairs.
And her bun is now awkward.
Yes,
in my opinion, I don't like it. Sorry, I don't like it. Also, a very clear. I liked Marianne as a very sort of a dark horse romance option for me. Not anymore.
Killed it.
Bad haircut. Same with Mercedes.
You've got strong hair opinions.
I do.
Yes. This is funny. Lysithia just gets hair ornaments that she did not have before. So Lawrence is
I've seen him.
Is the only golden deer that really has this
substantial change.
And Leonie before had the short hair.
Yeah.
She grows her hair out a little bit into a little side pony.
Okay.
And so I really liked their outfits that they gained.
Yeah, that too.
But many of my characters felt like...
Not enough change for you?
Yeah. It feels like a lot of the other houses had these really wow moments.
Yeah, there were a lot of changes.
I feel like we had that with Lorenz, and everyone else was kind of predictable.
So one thing before we move on to Chapter 13 is... the sort of did or maybe this was the beginning of 14, end of 13, I don't remember. They did this sort of overview of the world now.
Yeah, I think
and I'm
kind of
curious if that was different for you. They suggested in mine that Dimitri was dead.
Yes, mine too.
And then I kind of want to talk about that, but maybe we'll wait till we get to the end. So 16.
Get further down. Yeah.
And Claude and Lorenz are on opposite sides in my playthrough. I don't know if that has anything. Is there any element of that in yours?
So,
or is it just their parents or something?
So Lorenz's father is pro Empire alliance, but still within the alliance, and then Judith is leading up the
yes, Judith,
the resistance, and so, but we kind of get a hint that like Lorenz's family is kind of telling the Empire like, oh yeah, we're down to clown with you, and
that might not be the case.
And that to a certain extent that is just for survival, and that really everyone's kind of biding some time.
Gotcha.
So how much? So Lorenz is truly concerned about the conflict a little bit, but you kind of get the sense that it's a little bit of a ruse. The whole conflict within the alliance.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I'm sure that based on what happens with the Black Eagles, I can see how in another playthrough who would be where, but differently than mine. You know what I mean? Like,
absolutely.
Because they talk about their parents kind of being on one side or the other.
Yes.
Yeah. So I was kind of curious. So let's see. I start to have all these. So after that story update, was there anything else about that you want to talk about? I mean,
I think
it was a lot of info for me too, and I was like, I'm not taking notes here. I hope this comes, and it does kind of come back around. But I was like, oh, Dimitri's dead. That's kind of sad.
Yeah, that's mostly all I got. And so my people are super concerned with. This is maybe a different. Rhea's gone missing.
No, that's the same.
Okay, and so my people are super concerned with figuring out where Rhea is. And, the Empire has moved north, and there's just a little sliver of the kingdom holding out.
Okay.
And there's rumors of Dimitri's death.
Okay, I think that's similar then. The main thing I took away was that Claude and Lorenz are kind of like fighting over the alliance.
Okay.
So this is where after chapter 14, my other recruits show up. I'm like, finally, I get, well, not all of them because I didn't get Manuela and Aloise and Hanneman, who I did not recruit, are just gone. But now I get all these A support conversations just all of a sudden appear.
Oh,
yeah. I've had everybody
up
to, know. So I watch all these flirty scenes between Byleth and everybody.
All right. That is, it's silly. Yeah, when you're hitting all those A ranks, because then everyone's like, oh, you want to... I think we make a great team together. Yeah. Like, they're hinting at a romantic relationship. Yeah.
To varying degrees.
Yes.
Some of them are more so. Like, Dorothea's is...
I'm sure.
Is very flirty.
She's looking for some.
Yeah. And then now when we teach, we all sit around a big conference table, and that seems fair. And you can learn from anybody. And this is where I kind of started to have some of those C and B conversations pop up where I'm like, I'm not sure that this makes sense. Because, like, Petra's hair isn't super braided anymore. And the Dorothea and her got a B or something. Mm-hmm. And she's like, I love your braid. And she's like, I'll show you how to braid if you want. And she doesn't talk like that, but she can't speak.
I'll show you how to braid.
So that was funny. Yeah.
Cool.
And I must not really remember the fight that happened at 14 because I don't have any notes about it.
So 14 was kind of a funny chapter, and it made me a little angry, to be honest, because it reused the same map from chapter 12. And so I was defending the monastery against some guy named Berglitz.
Oh.
He's Casper. He's related to Casper in some way. Maybe his older brother or cousin.
I don't think that's what happened on mine. I don't even remember it, but that doesn't sound right.
Okay. And it was weird because I was supposed to set a fire trap to run everyone off, but I killed everyone except for like 3 or 4 guys.
This definitely is not.
Set off the fire trap, caught all my guys on fire, and then cleaned up the remainder 3 or 4 guys. So it felt like a stalling chapter. So I was like, this must be an important story point for some of the other routes, because me just rehashing a very similar fight to chapter 12 right now, I'm ready to go. You introduced my characters again. Why are we then like rehashing this this fight one more time? So I don't know. That it wasn't my favorite.
Man, I don't can't even remember what my fight was. I'm trying to look it up because I can't even think of it.
Also, Patrick's cat has come in the room and is both like vying for my attention and kind of like being sassy at me at the same time. While you look that up, we could also start talking about Marianne's prologue.
Yeah, let's definitely talk about that. That was really cool. I was really happy to see that, to get some answers about her and
yeah,
and it was a satisfying conclusion too.
Yes, and it was a really hard fight.
Yeah, they threw a bit. It was also like once. I think it's like I feel like I learned this every time. It's like, just kill the person you're supposed to kill and don't worry about all the others. Because, if you just focus on killing that main beast, that's when it ends.
Yes.
And so like I think I was like trying to stave off all these other things, and then it's like, no. And then I finally killed the main one. And I'm like, oh, okay.
But you get special extra booty or loot at the end if
and
you
more experience
and
if
more
playing
experience.
hard.
Yep.
I cannot find it quickly, so I don't know what to say about the chapter 14 battle. Is obviously not
was not impactful for you.
Meaningful.
Yes. So that makes me curious that both of us, I remember mine, but chapter 14 was like, why? It felt a little bit like a weird stalling moment. So my chapter 15, I think surely this is where we diverge a little bit. Is that so I think this is also important. Is Claude reveals to me 2 major things. That we're going to, and maybe this happened earlier, but we are now a special task force that flies under the banner of the Flame Crest and not...
Oh, okay, yeah. This happens as well.
Okay.
But Seth is the one doing all these things.
And he reveals to me that his real goal, his real intention, is to unite Almyra and Fodlan, because he is royalty on both sides and has always felt like an outsider in either place. So his real goal is to unite the 2 nations and to end the animosity and racism between the 2 and the xenophobia, and and that he mostly agrees with Edelgard about wanting to overthrow the church and being suspect. But since she took the violent route, we can take the cleanup savior route. But that he ideologically agrees with her dismantling of the crest system.
Oh, okay. Mm-hmm. That's interesting.
Yeah.
Well, so my story here, and it still isn't filling in my hole about what happened at the end of 14, but I have this battle where I'm going to get assistance from Judith.
Oh, yes.
And I fight against Ash.
Oh,
and
yes, us too.
And another...
And a volcanic area that was a forest, but then the goddess
go to meet
destroyed
Judith there.
Yes.
And
Same.
And I end up getting a letter from Claude.
Yes. Oh, fascinating. What does the letter say? Do you remember?
The letter essentially is saying that Claude is like supports us and wants us to take a particular bridge.
Oh, yeah.
And that he will distract the people by doing something, and that we will then be able to take the bridge easily, and it will work out for everybody.
So our stories are sounding very parallel because
yeah.
we do that, but he is actively.
It's a little bit
telling us
different
that. Yeah.
mechanics.
Yep.
So Judith seems cool. I like Judith.
She's great.
I also have I went on a paralogue that was unique to me. Petra and Bernadetta have a paralogue where you go to Brigid or Petra goes to Brigid to try to get support from her grandfather. And Hubert shows up and tries to stop us.
That's fascinating.
But it was fun because I like Petra, though I don't like Bernadetta. But it was actually, I like her character. I just don't like her hair. And I don't like using her in battle.
How did the conflict with Hubert end? Did he survive?
Yeah, it's one of those, like, you kill him and then you do to me this.
Live to fight again.
Yeah, exactly. Yep. And then this was funny because, like, after you read, or you don't read Claude's letter, before you read Claude's letter, Sedith is like, do you think we should go west or east? Did this happen to you?
Oh, no.
And I think it's one of those fake choices.
Okay.
Because I was like, well, we should go east into the Alliance or whatever. And then you read the letter and it's like, Claude presents you with that option to go east and to do the thing. So I think if I had said west, Sedith would have been like, I must counsel us to go east. You know what I mean? It's probably,
redirect you. Yeah. That's fascinating. So you had the bridge fight.
Yes.
Okay. And so I fought Ferdinand there. Who was kind of your...
That's funny. So this is jumping now into 16, right?
Uh-huh.
Yeah, so I fought... It was Lorenz.
Oh, fascinating.
And...
but you were told to go there by Claude. Oh, but Lorenz has turned. I see.
Yeah, Lorenz is on the opposite side, like the other main Alliance faction.
I see.
And I wish I could remember some of these story things better. I guess I should have made better notes about the story because all my notes are just like haircuts. Lorenz has a terrible haircut.
I like his new hair. You don't?
I don't know. I didn't really study it. It just looked weird. Like it's really long on one. I don't know.
Yeah,
it's like long in the front.
Yeah, this is V goth.
Yeah, very goth.
Yeah.
I really liked this battle, though. It was still pretty easy for me, but the map was interesting, and there were reinforcements coming in.
Yeah.
And, like, there was, that one beast kind of blocking your path, and then, like, the ballista and stuff. So I thought that was a cool fight.
This is one, and here on out, I became less interested in having to take everyone out. This one was one where... I don't think I could have succeeded if I tried to take Ferdinand was so strong that I was taking care of this beast and things were going fine there, and there were these other auxiliary characters that were going to be fine, but I couldn't continue without getting in his threat range, and he was going to destroy almost anyone who stepped in his threat range, so I had to figure out how to take him out first. But he was the commander, and so killing him ended the chapter.
Yeah, I think killing Lorenz... I want to say killing Lorenz ended the chapter, but there's also a woman. I can't remember her name that seemed important. I think maybe killing her did it. I don't remember.
Okay.
I think I actually killed everybody in this battle, so it wasn't terribly hard. So this is where Gilbert showed up for me.
Oh. Okay.
So what
did he do?
At the end of this battle, Gilbert shows up, and he is working with Dmitri, who is alive.
Oh.
And wants to send an army to attack the Empire right now, directly. And, like, should we join them? Another false choice. Because I was like, yeah, fuck yeah, we should join them. Let's go march on the Empire. Instead, it's like, I don't think we should do it. We need to go back and regroup. And I'm like, why'd you give me this choice?
That's silly.
And also, like, come on. And it's like, well, we're not going to do it. And Gilbert's like, well, we're still doing it. And I'm like, come on, guys, this is dumb.
Yep.
Either we need to help you or y'all need to wait too, because this is a ridiculous. Like, why are we going to piecemeal attack the Empire here?
Yes.
And then I'm like, okay, Dimitri won't stop? What? And he's alive? And then chapter 17 starts, end of chapter 16, beginning of chapter 17. So little spoiler here for chapter 17 if you want. But, oh, no, Dimitri is now dead.
Oh.
He died when they went and did that.
Wait,
It
at
was
the end of 17?
So here's the beginning of 17.
Oh.
So super weird shit with Dimitri here. The time skip happens. I'm told he's dead.
Yes.
Chapter 16 ends. No, he's alive and he's marching on the Empire. Chapter 17 says, oh, well, they die. He died in battle.
Done died
and
again.
Then I meet Dimitri. And then, like, I'm out walking around and Dimitri's there. And I'm
Is
like,
he a
what the
ghost?
fuck? Just kill him or keep him alive.
Choose a side.
It's like I felt really, like, tricked when they told me he was actually alive.
Yeah.
And then I was like, well, that was kind of interesting. But then they're like, no, he just died right the next day. And I'm like, what the hell? And like, nope, here he is talking to you. And then Sedith comes and he's like, are you all right? You were asleep by yourself. So like maybe it was a vision of Dimitri. Come on, guys, stop yanking my chain here with the whole Dimitri being alive or dead thing. I can't tell what's going on.
That's hilarious.
It really is weird, like how quickly they pulled, like, he's alive, he's dead. He's alive, he's dead. Maybe he's alive.
So this was different for me. And so we think that Dimitri's dead as well. We're told that there is a small band of the kingdom's army still kind of like lingering, and right as we're kind of coming to head with Edelgard, they're going to show up as well, and we're going to try to sway them to our side.
Okay.
So
that seems more rational for everybody than like, we're still going to do this even without your help.
yeah. And so, well, it starts off that way, but then we show up, and it's at the same place that the fight of the eagle and the
Gotcha.
lion happened when we were classmates. And
so this is chapter 17,
This
by the
is
way.
chapter 17.
Okay.
My notes say so, at least.
Yeah, no. I'm just like, we'll stop right around here. You can finish your thought, and then we'll wrap it up, I think.
And so I get essentially the same setup as
the same
as
battle.
that same battle.
Ooh, it's a nice little callback.
But with everyone aged up, and there's this really cool cinematic, which is kind of honoring it and calls back to it.
I wonder if I'll get that too.
And Claude was like, oh, hey, Dimitri's still alive and leading his army. Let's go make friends with him and see if he'll join. So I head down that way, and he just keeps fighting me. And I'm like, excuse me, sir.
That's weird.
Like, and so I tried to talk to him with Byleth. Oh, yeah, you haven't. I'm sorry.
That's
you
okay.
haven't. And I tried to talk to him with Claude, and neither of those characters can talk him down. And
that doesn't make any sense.
Yeah. And so I just killed everybody.
Well, we'll report back next episode on what happens to my chapter 17 battle, because that's where I am almost at right now.
I always forget.
That's okay. I am very confused. If Dimitri is alive still, I don't know. I don't know what's going on with Dimitri in my playthrough.
It's weird that you've had so much buildup about this back and forth of him being alive and dead.
It wasn't even buildup. It was a lot of buildup about him being dead, and then, oh, no, he's alive. Oh, wait, no, he died. Oh, no, he's alive. No, wait, that was just a vision. You know,
that sounds awful.
Like, it really was.
Yeah.
Because number one, I don't care that much about Dimitri, but now I do. You know what I mean? And now now
I'm invested, and you're just yanking me around.
Yeah.
That's hysterical.
Yeah. Well, that's where we are.
I'm excited because this battle is really good if you get the same one. And I'm just gonna go ahead and plant this. Our stories so far have been running pretty parallel.
Yeah.
If it keeps going that way, the end of chapter 18 was a big, like, what is happening moment for me. And so I'm really excited to see if you
talk about that
get
soon.
the same thing. Yeah.
Okay. Well, any further thoughts on general anything? I mean, we've talked for a long time, so
I think I got it all out of my system. Yeah. How about you?
No, I don't think I have anything else. I'm excited to finish this playthrough. I think for the podcast, like we'll have one more episode to wrap up this,
That's right.
the sort of initial playthrough discussion. And then, maybe we'll do another episode for a second playthrough or
Sure.
for DLC or both, depending on how that all shakes out.
Sure. And I was even thinking after, depending on how our last playthrough episode goes, maybe having a conclusion.
All 4 stories kind of talk.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
Yeah. But we'll see.
Yeah.
We'll see where things lead.
Well, yeah. So thanks everybody for listening, and thanks to Baylor Johnson for doing our music.
Yeah.
Anything else we need to say?
Peace and blessings of Saros.